2.
All right, welcome to the Morning Buzz, special edition being brought to you during this little hiatus that we're on from school. We a groundbreaking event here today, Mr. Davis.
Yes.
You want to talk about that for a minute?
Well, we wanted to communicate with you, and we thought, where's the best place in this building to send out a clear communication? And it's the Trustees Lounge with our founder, James Madison Leavitt, right there behind.
JML.
To communicate. Now, yesterday I thought this was like a state of the school, state of the Hornets, but then we've hit on
State of the Hive.
The State of the Hive address.
So this will be the first ever State of the Hive address coming straight to you from the lounge.
Straight from the lounge.
So I believe, Mr. Shaw, you're going to open this thing up with some remarks that you prepared?
And then we're going to go and try to answer some questions at the end. So good morning. I hope you're all well as we try to navigate through these unprecedented circumstances. We're reaching out this morning to provide some updated information about our current school closure, how it will impact our school community in ways that we can all support one another as we move forward. All of the information that we're seeing and hearing is undoubtedly causing anxiety to many of us. In order to alleviate some of that stress, I believe our most important role is to stay informed and act with our own due diligence to help prevent the spread of the virus, while also doing our best to maintain some level of normalcy. As I've said before, we're all community members, and as such we have a responsibility to each other to look out for one another and to do our part to help slow the spread of the virus. In order to do that, things are going to look a little different. As you know, we've suspended face-to-face instruction through March 27th. That doesn't mean that learning activities have been suspended, just that it won't be happening here at school. Although this closure came on rapidly, it doesn't mean we weren't already preparing for it. Fortunately for most of us, there's some component of our courses already online. And more specific to where we're currently at, the Leavitt faculty started ramping up conversations about distance and virtual learning 2 weeks ago. So as a result, when the call was made to suspend in-person instruction for these 2 weeks, we were already well on our way to being able to do that. That's not to say that this transition is going to be easy or go off without a hitch. There will likely be some difficult parts of it, but we will work through it together. Our goal will be to keep students connected to school through regular activities in the next couple of weeks in several subject areas each day. However, it's clear it won't be business as usual in a virtual setting. The idea that we could replicate an entire school day and the school experience through the online platform is not realistic. I know that this is all new and there are a lot of unknowns. I also know that having a lot of unanswered questions is unnerving. I think the most effective thing we can do now is to carefully evaluate our next steps and try to answer some of those questions. We will do our best to keep everyone informed and updated as the situation continues to unfold. And as we move forward, we will work together to answer those questions as they arise. And in the vein of working together, Mr. Hathaway and Mr. Davis are going to work with me this morning to answer some of that those important questions and share some information. So thank you both. Where would we like to start today?
Do we want to start with what we've been doing? Kind of the teachers, the way that he mentioned our preparation for this. So I'll speak from my own experience. As department head, and Mr. Davis is also department head of social studies, we've been preparing the people in our departments for the likelihood that this may have happened for, I'd say, a couple of weeks. I think really for a couple of years we've had several discussions about the use of Google Classroom and different platforms like Google Meet and Zoom and things like that to be able to use just as an additional resource anyway. I know I spent a lot of time yesterday and this morning prepping up some stuff for the Google Classroom. Posted last night a message to my students about kind of what it was going to look like. Posted up some videos and some notes from Khan Academy for the current electric circuits unit that we're working on. And then today also made some hard copies of some reading materials and some questions so that if there is some trouble accessing that stuff online, that there's another form they can grab it when they come and get their laptop. So how about you?
So the history people, what we've tried to do, we have a lot of different history classes, but for the core, like US 1, US 2, and World, we worked together yesterday from good distance. We were in rooms, but we did keep, seriously, we did keep like in corners of the room sort of, but we worked on creating some things that you're going to get a unit. I shouldn't even say unit. You're going to get a topic. It's going to be posted today or tomorrow. It's not going to be your first assignment's not due until next Friday. And there's a bunch of resources. We tried to give options. For us, it's easy because we mostly use Google Classroom anyway. I think all the history teachers use it pretty regularly. And it's going to be this, every freshman's going to have the same assignment in US 1. Everyone in US 2 is going to get the same assignment. We've made photocopies of material for people who might not have internet. But for the most part, things are going to be online. I know US 2, one thing, they've come up with some really cool stuff around World War II where there's their basic topic, but then it's going to be everybody can read this book. They've found a bunch of World War II movies that are available on Netflix, and
Nice. Yep.
and those are just kind of options. So it's like, hey, we're learning about World War II. People are going to spend a lot of time in their house. Here's some World War II movies
Right.
if you want to watch.
That's great.
And if you can't watch them,
What's your favorite World War II movie?
Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, of course.
That's a good
right?
one.
Yeah.
That's
Right. Mr. Shaw, what have you seen kind of going on around the building from the other departments, or
So
just from
I'm
teachers
going
in
to
general?
be more global than that. As you might expect, the business around the district has been pretty busy. It's been brisk over the last few days, and it continued through the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, trying to figure out how we were going to handle having face-to-face instruction suspended. And it's been kind of stop and go. So, and I mentioned this in our meeting yesterday. We'll get some information will come, and there'll be a flurry of activity trying to respond to that piece of information, and then there'll be a little bit of a lull, and the next information will come, and again we'll have to respond to it. So it's stop and start. But there's been a lot of really good thinking around trying to navigate this, which we've never had to do before on such a scale. So it's been good. There's been a lot of things going on around the building. Last week, to end the week, there were a number of places around the building where people were practicing the Google Hangout or the Google Meeting to see how that might work, because they hadn't tried that necessarily before, so they wanted to see how that would go. Mrs. Lashman and I have been in conversations about how we can get students access to library books while they're out, and that's on my list of things to put out there. I might as well do it now. There's going to be a library section set up in the cafeteria, so so when students come in to pick up their things, they can grab a book and sign it out, or two books and sign them out, and take them home with them to have during this time that we're away. So virtually every aspect of what goes on in school has been discussed, and trying to figure out how to get that out there for students and continue to do that, even though we're not here in the building. And we'll talk more about those as we get down our list here.
And I would say too is, obviously nobody's happy about the situation, but teachers were kind of excited doing the planning yesterday.
I thought it was great around here yesterday.
So we had a really good energy. People were like, and I mentioned the US 2 thing before, but they were in the room and they were like, we should have done this anyway. Like, they were really happy with what they've come up with. So hopefully it's fun stuff that when you're at home doing it. It's not going to be the same as being in the classroom, but it's interesting. One thing that I would push for your online work is interact with the teachers. Like, send us comments, send us questions. We might, you might not understand it. In the room with us, we can always explain it, but I'm happy to. I actually posted in my Google Classroom last night, and then I was waiting. Like, come on, people, let's get some comments back.
I put down a couple of times a day when I'm going to be on email. So if people want to, I'll be on my computer at those times, and if people want to check in on those at those times, we can. So talk a little bit about maybe just some other roles in the district outside of the teachers. We've had the custodians and the maintenance crew and the bus drivers kind of working on some things. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, I'll speak to what's been going on here. Specifically, we had a number of custodians here yesterday, and they were around the building doing double cleaning, really. They've been through last week already, but went back through again yesterday, scrubbing things down, disinfecting things. That work will continue in other buildings around the district. And it's really all hands on deck, and I guess that's probably the best way to describe it. And just to see the level of community come together from the people in the district to get done what needs to get done has been good to see.
Saw the bus drivers out there this morning hosing down the buses.
They were scrubbing down buses today.
Yeah, getting that done.
I drove by the BQMC in North Turner this morning.
Right.
Actually, I drove by twice because I forgot my laptop at home. But both times I saw them setting up the food. I actually got to see them advancing in the
So that's another thing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the food service and how that's going to work?
So I'm gonna start right off by putting a big shout out to Dave Roberts, our food service director, and all of his food service staff who have been working to pull this off because it's been complicated and it involves applications to the federal government because it's a federal food service program and getting these waivers and whatnot. I'm going to use the wrong terms, but ultimately that's what it is. But they were able to resolve this so quickly that service is actually starting today. So, and I'm going to read it right off this post that was put out yesterday evening. So starting today from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, any child 18 years old or younger is eligible to go to any one of the 3 sites in the district to pick up breakfast and lunch. The child must be present in order to be eligible for the meal. The meal sites are Leavitt Central School, the Buffy-Quimby Center in North Turner, and the Greentown office. There is no cost for these meals. On Fridays, children will be able to pick up meals for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that covers any student under the age of 18.
Right. You don't have to have qualified for a previous program.
Anybody.
Awesome.
Just swing in to one of those 3 sites, and there's geographically spread around the district, so there should be one near you. You don't have to go to the one that's in your town, and pick up those meal opportunities that are there for the kids.
So I know you just said it, but in case anyone missed it, so 8 to 12.
8 to 12,
Monday to Friday.
Monday through Friday.
Awesome.
Leavitt Central School, the Buffy-Quimby Center in North Turner, and the Greentown office.
Now, can I get a meal?
No.
You're gonna have to bring a student with you, right?
I have friends with students that I could bring there to get some meals, so I'll see what I can do.
Maybe we could talk a little bit about some things that the students need to make sure they do over the next couple days to get ready to kind of access this distance learning model.
We just put out a post on the Leavitt website, and we'll continue to update that regularly. So check in on the Leavitt website. We'll put it out there as quickly as we can and try to keep people updated as we go. But students are invited to come in to pick up materials here in the cafeteria tomorrow and Thursday, 8 to 4. And come right into the cafeteria. So there's no need to come in the main entrance and go down the hallway to the cafeteria. We'll have the side doors open. Come right into the cafeteria. We'll have laptops in there. They're all ready to go, arranged by HPT. We're going to have specific coursework in there for students to grab. So know your schedule when you come in. So that's going to be important. So that I'll speak to US 1 and US 2. Like there's specific work for US History 1. Come in and grab that work, and you can go.
So, so if you're getting your kid's laptop too,
we need
make sure you know their
right.
schedule.
I mean,
So
ideally we'd have a kid so that they know and can kind of navigate that, but we can make it work as long as we know the student schedule. Mrs. Shedlarski has music equipment, instruments that are down in the cafeteria ready to go, along with choral folders. We have art supplies for art students down there ready to go.
Mr. Grimshaw packaged up some stuff to make electric circuits for his concepts and physics class.
We're trying to cover basically all contingencies as we go through that. But I'm going to continue to reiterate as we do this. We're going to make mistakes, and we're going to have to fix it. But
I will make mistakes. Clearly.
But we're
forgot your laptop.
I've already made mistakes. Right?
But we'll work through it. And I'll say this again probably before we get done. This is a stressful time. We're all going to figure it out as we go. None of us has done this before. But everybody is doing the best they can with the cards they've been dealt, and we can't ask for any more than that. So that's going to be the pickup is going to be tomorrow and Thursday.
Times on that?
8 to 4.
8 to 4.
8 to 4, right in the cafeteria. We'll have a sign out there so people know that they can go right to that door and come in that way.
So
I was just down there before I came down here, and
awesome.
If you're looking for your assignments, they're kind of set up by department. So, like there'll be a science table. You'll go, and all the science teachers have laid out their materials on that table, and then you can go to social studies, and then English and humanities, and kind of like that. So it's set up pretty good. And then again, all the laptops are set up by HPT advisors, and they kind of have the juniors, seniors on one side, and the freshmen and sophomores on the other side. Your charger is right with it, so you'll be able to charge up your Chromebook.
My HPT, I will be happy to know, for I think the first time in 3 years, we actually have the right number of chargers for the laptops.
Congratulations.
So I thought that was going to be a problem, but you're all set, guys.
So we had the right number of chargers. Not necessarily the right numbers, which I don't know how that happens, because they're in like a, I don't know, what do you call it?
Right, they're like a
Storage.
Yeah,
storage
the big
unit.
storage unit. So I don't know how we have the wrong numbers, but we did have the right number of chargers. We were short one laptop.
Oh.
So Keegan Labortis, if you're out there, I don't know where your laptop is. Maybe you brought it home, but maybe we could take care of that. So, but yeah, everything's set up, and teachers are still filling stuff in today. But by the end of today, I believe when everybody's gone, we should be ready to roll, so kids can get their laptops and their assignments and
so
be good to go.
And the assignments are going to be due on Friday.
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Correct.
So all your assignments, you don't want to wait till next Friday.
Right.
You should be checking your email, checking the Google
You
Classroom.
should be checking your email every day. That'd be my recommendation.
Yeah. And I think if you haven't, you've probably seen some stuff pop up from some teachers already. In the next day or two, you're going to see
Right, a lot more
stuff.
And I think we should speak to the next Friday piece of it. And we had deliberately tried to make this like it was an online class. And if anybody who's taken an online class before, there's usually a deadline at the end of the week when everything is due. It doesn't happen. It's not usually like peppered in throughout the week. So we try to follow that same format.
So it's flexible, so you can kind of budget your time. I think that's what students need to be good about here over these next few weeks is, taking an hour a day or whatever it may be to work on something and kind of figure out what you need to work on and when. But, it definitely is flexible so that, certainly understanding that people are going to have some other responsibilities, probably a lot of students at home, watching siblings or, prepping meals or whatever. So, budget your time wisely, help out your family, and let's get this done.
And it may look different. Like I'm just going to jump in. It's going to look different for an AP class versus probably with some other classes.
Right.
And Mr. Davis, I know, has been talking about that with Mr. Schiffelli and trying to figure out how to handle some of that AP stuff. So if you're in those classes, you need to be aware that it's going to look a little different than it does in other places.
Yeah. And the thing with those classes is, it's not that we want to load people up with work. It's people have worked so hard all year for those AP tests. So it's keeping going through the material, not necessarily punishing people in grades. We should probably mention how grading's going to work.
Yeah.
But keeping the content going. So I know in AP US history, we just finished World War II. Now we're churning into the Cold War, the 50s, the 60s. It's going to be cool stuff. So.
And I think even in physics, I get some kids that are going to go to be engineers at school next year, some seniors. So if there's some things that I don't cover in physics, that's going to have an effect on them when they're taking their class next year. So we want to try to get through as much content as we can. Yeah. You want to talk about the grading piece of it for a minute?
Yeah, we can all chime in on it. I think the way to look at it is, as much as you guys just ask students to provide you with feedback, our intent in our conversation yesterday is to provide students with as much feedback as we can and evaluate that as we go. And when we get back, figure out how that fits in with the overall class. With the intent or the idea being that the stuff you're working on now may very well just flow right into wherever we go after we resume courses again. It's not something that we should be just blowing off because we're going to be picking up when we come back. Right.
But on the other hand, if there is a student out there that can't get internet or there could be a lot of circumstances where somebody, I think the great majority of the students, hopefully will be able to do it, but if somebody can't do it, this isn't going to be something that harms them.
No, we're going to be as flexible as we can.
Yeah, we'll find, because obviously we know there's some people that...
And if we need to provide resources other than online resources, we're working on doing that too. So.
And I think the message that I gave the teachers in my department was this should be a time that we focus on instruction and not really assessment. So, we're trying to get information out there, we're trying to get some kids to learn some things or practice some things. And then we'll kind of fill in the gaps when they get back. And I know this goes probably all over the building, but shout out to my department. Yesterday we took the whiteboard and kind of put up what everybody was doing in their different places, and it was pretty impressive to see the the number of classes that we teach, the number of ideas that people had with what they were going to do, and how well prepped they were. Like at I think it was 9:15 when we met yesterday morning. Like people were ready to do this.
That does translate across the building.
That's impressive.
Yeah, same vibe for us. It was really awesome. All right, what do we want to hit?
Let's see.
So, we should mention this part about teachers. I think one thing we might have missed is we won't necessarily be here.
Right.
So teachers now have the option, I guess, to come in or work remotely.
Yep.
So a lot of teachers are home for a lot of reasons. First of all, because we're following the government guidelines.
Right.
Some people have kids that they're home with. People are doing their work from wherever, but they're still available to you. They're not necessarily here.
Right, and we're in the vein of being flexible, right? Where we have staff who were here. The example I gave you earlier was we've had staff who were here early this morning, like early when the building opened, did what they needed to do before they needed to go work from home, and we have some staff that will be in later in the day. So they're all over the place, and that's all fine because we're going to be communicating as much as we can electronically, which is why we're encouraging the emails or the Google Classroom messages or however, whatever platform they happen to be on, just because they're not physically in the four walls of this building, they're still accessible.
I know another thing too I have on my list here is I've got some things I need to grade. I think Mr. Davis, you said that as well. Like we took an electrostatics test on Friday that I've got, so that's one thing I'm going to be working on the next couple of days is updating grades. So there will be some grades going into Power School, just not for things that that were not before we took this break. And I would say to students out there, if you missed an assignment right before break or something like that, contact your teacher, and this would be a good time to maybe take care of that, and they can get it graded, and that way when we come back, all grades are updated, everything's good to go, and we're just ready to move forward.
I don't think we shouldn't understate that. If there are students out there with outstanding work, this is a good time to get all caught back up. So when we get back into school, bam, we're caught up and ready to go. And I think it's as simple as an email to your teacher. What is it that I'm missing that I can do?
Right.
Get it out there.
In some cases, you know what you're missing.
Is that like an emerald, Pam? Is that what that is?
I don't know.
Right.
I tried to do the direct point. Like you are missing work. Turn it into me.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent
missing work.
your missing work.
Right. So just a couple of things to kind of cross them off our list. I think we're doing a pretty good job here. Just remind students, check your email and your Google Classrooms every day. Take care of your own nutrition and meals and things like that. If there's a need, we mentioned the places that are open this week where you can go and get food Monday to Friday, 8 to noon, Lead Central School, BQ, and the Greentown office. Practice good hygiene. Wash your hands.
Social distancing. So we're close, and we needed to be in a shot here. We're closer.
Right.
But we have been doing that really well.
We have.
And it's really important for everyone to do. So when this turns off, we're going to go wash our hands. And we're going to separate away. But for real.
Yeah.
We have a potential experiment coming up tomorrow demonstrate that.
Follow Buzz Media tomorrow.
Tomorrow. We will be.
I think we also should point out that as we're doing this time away, staff members aren't stopping learning themselves. Like we're learning these new technology applications in some cases as we're doing them. And the phrase that we've used before is building the plane as you're flying it, which is never very comfortable, but it does seem to move things along when you're building your plane as you're flying it, and people are trying out new things, and I got to give people credit because trying out new things, particularly in the middle of a school year, is not it's not a comfortable feeling. So that we're also doing that as we go through.
Are we ready to talk about the actual what's going on?
Yeah, I think we can, and we'll come back to some of this other stuff later. Okay.
So I think most people, like you've talked with your teachers, I'm sure people have watched the news and social media, but I think it is important to realize that this is not a typical thing.
Right.
Like I don't recall anything like this.
I would say the only thing that has been like it was the seclusion from the ice storm of '98. Right? Like, just kind of being, I remember being stuck in my apartment in Orono at that time for like quite a stretch of time. So But in terms of a pandemic like this, I mean, we had the was it in 08, 09, was it the H1N1?
Right, but that wasn't nearly the same.
Definitely not.
Right.
I think the only thing comparable you'd have to go back to the 1918 flu probably to have
Spanish flu.
Yeah.
Right.
To have anything like it. So when we say we're breaking new ground, we're quite literally breaking new ground, and you know, this is one of those things that, much like the ice storm or whatever, this is one of those things that when you have grandkids, you'll be talking about. You'll be talking to your, hey, back in 2020 on St. Patrick's Day when we were able.
Oh,
to
happy St. Patrick's Day!
Yes,
that's right. Totally unplanned. Like, I just got dressed this morning. So yeah, I mean, this is and it's a big deal. Like, I don't want to downplay it. I don't want to overblow it, but I mean, it's a big deal, and we need to all do our part. And it is. It's going to be one of those things that we talk about for a long time, and you folks in the social studies department are currently talking about it as a current event, but it will be discussed in history classes as time goes on.
I'm guessing that this is the assignment for current issues.
I know. I'm actually going to post that later today. But yeah, in current issues, we've been talking about it since literally day one.
Right.
Because we started that class in January, and I was like, hey, this is what's happening in China right now. And then we watched the whole progression, like, South Korea is kind of bad. Although I think what's interesting about that is, as we're doing this and we're doing this shutdown, they did that in South Korea. And if you look at the cases in South Korea day to day, they were blowing up 3 weeks ago. Now they're getting 30 new cases a day. It's dropping, so it works.
So they're flattening the curve. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
That concept of flattening the curve?
So
I'm sorry, I'm smirking about something else.
I was waiting for that.
No, it's fine.
So, I mean, I think people have seen it, hopefully at this point in social media, but there's that idea that, like, yes, it's going to spread, but the problem if the cases come in too quickly is hospitals get overwhelmed.
I thought there was a great...
See the Washington Post thing?
No, it was on Channel 6 this morning. They did a diagram of it, and that's exactly what they were showing on their diagram. Was the intent isn't necessarily to reduce the number of cases, because the number of cases over time will likely remain the same. It's to not have them all peak at one time. So I thought that was a good way of doing that.
And to allow them to figure out better, like, obviously, all around the world, scientists, people are researching it, both looking for a vaccine, looking for treatment, figuring out best.
They had to figure out tests first, right?
Right.
Like, I heard we locked like 12 of our best scientists in a room, and they told them not to come out until they had a test that was able to get the results back within 24 hours. It took them 9 days. But in 9 days, they came up with it. So that's pretty good.
And the testing has been a problem, but it's starting to ramp up. And up in Canada, some scientists figured out how to map the whole thing.
There's developments every day, and that's what I kind of tried to get at when I started off this morning. Is that there's so much information out there that can be overwhelming, and I think one of the things that's important is for us to probably have some sort of restriction on our own intake of information over the course of one day, because if we don't do that, then we find ourselves kind of in the Wall-E scenario of the people that are sitting there with a screen in front of them all day and just taking it all in, and that's not
your anxiety can get overwhelming
absolutely.
too.
Just goes
that reminds me of 9/11 when they said people kept watching the video over and over again, and it just got. At some point, it's not informing you anymore. It's just elevating your anxiety.
Even when that comes up again every year, I always find myself
a little
watching, like I overwatch that stuff when it comes around the anniversary of that every year.
I think you got to find the sweet spot of, like, you have to know what's happening so you can follow the guidelines and be ready.
Right.
But then you got to unplug.
I'm putting myself I watch the new 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I didn't really watch when I get up this morning, but played a game of Ruzzle.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, I'm familiar with
that. Ruzzle?
Ruzzle?
Oh, dude, we can play each other.
All right, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
There you have it.
What are you doing to pass some of the time, Mr. Davis?
So, other than planning things for our podcast, that's a good question. I've been, walking the dogs, hitting the woods.
Yeah.
Some good social distancing out there.
Yeah.
Then cleaning the mud off my dogs because
I'm going to give a Mark Herman shout out. I was driving down North Street to come up to my house yesterday, and Mark Herman was outside throwing a baseball against a pitchback.
Nice.
Remember the pitchback?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's old school, man.
That is old school.
Mark Herman, nice job. My kids have. It seems as though at some point they're starting to get sick of video games over the course of the day. Like they went outside and played some hoop.
Maybe we've reached that
in the
saturation point.
Yeah, they of course the indoor hoop had to go up on the kitchen door. So we had to have an indoor bully ball basketball game last night, which I won the tournament.
Was that the wrap it up thing from?
I think we're giving the wrap up.
Okay.
The wrap it up music's coming, but
Okay.
it's not over yet. One thing I want to say is this: we are planning to come in and keep doing some Buzz Media podcasts suggestions.
Right.
Email to either of us,
Yep.
or Mr. Ventura, who's over here being our producer. Also, the other one I wanted to mention is if you have questions for your teacher, you should email the teacher.
Yeah.
But if you have questions that are just like,
How's this going to work?
Right.
What's that going to look like?
and it could be school related, but it could also be like
Whatever.
anything.
Yeah.
You have a problem, you don't know what to do. I think we're used to working all day,
Right.
and I think we're happy to try to help.
And when we go live, we'll have the chat up.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So you'll be able to put your questions
So
in.
email those questions to these
We'll
guys,
answer.
and
Yeah.
we'll work through those questions as we go.
Yep.
All right.
So I just got a couple of things I want to run through before we go.
Yeah.
Remind students, please check your email or your Google Classrooms on a daily basis. I think that's going to be important. We're going to try to update you as best we can through the school website. If there's something if there's no change, I'm not just going to put out no change. So if I'm not putting anything out there, it's because I don't have anything markedly new to tell you. If you don't need to come in and pick up a laptop and you don't want to come in, that's fine, but you should email your teachers to see if there's hard copies of stuff you need to come and pick up.
Or if there's a workaround,
Or
maybe.
if there's a workaround or whatever the case may be. And I mentioned the library already. There's going to be options for students to pick up books in the library. The last thing that I want to just put out there real quick, we're here, but teachers are here all over the place to help support us, students and each other. And I think it's important that we remember that out in the community as well. Like, we need to be supporting each other as we go through this time, which is weird and frustrating and anxiety causing. And we need to check in with everybody to make sure everybody's good. And I'm going to reiterate, maintain some flexibility. I know it's frustrating when things don't go the way we want them to go, but it's how we handle these stressful situations that really helps to define who we are, our character, and whatnot. So maintain that flexibility. We're all doing what we can with the information we have, and we're going to continue to move forward.
Sweet. Signing off.
Sign off.
Thanks,
Peace out.